self-sabotage is basically doing behavior or not doing behavior that gets in the way of achieving our desired outcome. How can we best address that? Well, there is no one solution for everyone. It's very particular to who you are and your situation. The first step is to recognize when there is this quality of self-sabotaging. Awareness and acknowledgement, which is really powerful, because when you become aware, you can modify your behavior and then take more aligned action towards what you do want. So after you acknowledge that you may be sabotaging your own efforts, and by this we mean, for instance, if you say that you want to start eating healthy and you want to begin improving your health and your fitness, or somebody wants to lose weight, that's what they say they want. And then a way that they self-sabotage is by going to the gym, but then going home and eating a lot of excess food because they think they can compensate for it because they exercise, or by saying they're sticking to their diet, but then making it very frequent or easy to go out with friends or eating out, or not taking the time and the effort to prepare their meals or to make healthy, informed food choices. Now, another way that we self-sabotage is when we say that we want to perhaps add some meditation to our schedule because we know that it will enhance our quality of life. And yet you don't actually carve out the time, and you then just overload yourself with more work, so that you then say, oh, I just don't have time to meditate or to prepare my my healthy food or my healthy drinks, because then you're deliberately doing things or doing a behavior that is interfering with the opportunity and not facilitating doing that thing that you said you wanted. And so those are just some examples. And so once you recognize it, the next step is to understand, okay, so what is my outcome? What do I really want? And then understanding why you want it. What is it going to do for you? Why is it important for you? And then looking at the bigger picture of your life. When you start to see, well, I want the X, I want this thing, and then how do I see myself moving forward? What do I need to do in order to have that become a reality? And it may entail breaking things down into smaller steps. You may need to actually make time in your agenda to do the smaller steps in between to reach your greater outcome. You may need to align more with what your desired outcome is. For instance, understanding why it's important to you. What does it contribute to your life? And actually, what do you have to give up and sacrifice to achieve it and to have it as a part of you? Because when we are modifying or seeking to change our behavior, it means that we're moving towards something new and letting go of something old, or something that we want to make old, or just no longer your current behavior. So it means making changes, and it means letting go of the familiar habits and familiar behaviors. So one important thing that is done in a life coaching session is to check for, when you make a decision and you decide to line up with a decision or an outcome, to check for the ecology. So when you have your desired outcome in mind and then you want to align with it, and you see who would you be in the future if you achieve that, and how would you feel, and what are the steps you have to take in between to get there. And by checking the ecology, you begin to see, how does your behavior or the changes that you make, how will that impact the people around you? How will that impact your current routine or schedule? How will that impact the demands on your time? These are just examples. And this is why when you check for the ecology, it's very important because it gives you more insight into what are the bigger aspects of your life that are being affected by these changes. And then there may be some hints as to why you would then self-sabotage, you know, because then it would mean changing your social relationships, or it would mean having to plan more ahead of time. It would mean having to take on maybe some more responsibility for yourself. And so when you highlight these aspects, it allows you to have more clarity, more insight, and you can actually then be more empowered to make the necessary adjustments. And one more thing is that if after doing these processes or exercises and self-questioning, you realize that, you know what, actually this is requiring a lot more energy and effort than I thought, and I need to take a step back and do like one step behind, or I need to reduce my target to something less ambitious for a short-term goal to make it feasible and manageable, then you have the opportunity to do so. And you can align with that and then ask yourself if it's congruent, you know, if your lifestyle will support it, if you are totally aligned with that desired outcome and you are willing to do the necessary steps that you've highlighted in between so that you can move towards that direction. It won't happen overnight, but it's about breaking it down and acknowledging what has to happen in between. So that is a general overview of how self-sabotage has an impact on whether or not we achieve our goals. And it's a much deeper topic. However, that's just skimming the surface. And another key tip that I will share with us is that it's really vital to surround yourself with the people and the resources and the elements that will enable you to move towards your desired outcome. Because the elements around us, our environment, will always influence what we're seeing and perceiving. And you can give yourself a great support by aligning yourself with the elements that will further support you on your journey. So I'm leaving it at that, and I'm wishing you beautiful moments of joy and love and happiness ahead.